Welcome to Mamaw's Masterclass series on fractions. Today we're going to be looking at our final video, video 9, on how fractions and decimals relate to one another. So let's get to it. Welcome to Mamaw Fractions video 9, our final video on fractions. Today we're going to be talking about how fractions are related to decimals and some real-life examples on why you need to understand their relationship. Say you're taking a test or any kind of assessment and you have the number right that you get at the end of the assessment, but it doesn't give you a score and you need to find out how you're doing. So say the test had 20 questions and you got 15 right. Well, to convert this to a score, first you can create it as a fraction. You'd have 15 over 20, 15 because that's how many you got right, 20 because that's how many there were. So your total possible. When you reduce that, you reduce it to 3/4, and then you simply divide. Take 3 and divide it by 4, and if you use a calculator, that's probably the simplest and quickest way to do it, but it's going to give you 0.75. That means that you made 75 on the test. So it's really that simple. It can be as small as 3/4, it can be 15/20, it can be 75 out of 100, but they're all going to come out to the same score of 75. Another example might be, say, you're a baseball buff and you have some favorite players and you like to keep up with their stats. Batting averages is one of the most common stats that you see, and how this is determined by the total number of hits your batter has gotten divided by the total number of times at bat. So say, I'm just going to use smaller numbers here, but say we're going to use that he's been at bat 20 times and he got 6 hits. Well, in order to convert this to a decimal, you would simply take 6 and divide it by 20, and you're going to get 0.300. Now, this converts to a batting average of 300, which is not bad. It's not absolutely wonderful, unless of course he's a pitcher, but it's not a bad batting average. But that's how it's done. The number of hits divided by the total numbers at bat. So it's a fraction to begin with, but you have to convert it to a decimal in order to be able to use it as a batting average. Now, one other thing that we need to look at real quick is sometimes you run into, when you're trying to convert a fraction into a decimal, that it does not come out even. For example, 2/3. 2/3, when you divide 2 by 3, you get 0.66666, and it keeps going forever. All right, what you have to do in this instance is you have to round it. So depending on your situation, you would know how many places you want to round it to, but then you would simply round that back to 0.67 or 0.667, but you take the value or the place that you want to round back to, and you look to the number immediately to its right. If that number is 5 or more, then you round the number you're looking at up 1. If it's less than 5, you leave it alone. So in this case, if I wanted to round it to hundredths, that's the second position to the right in your decimals. It's 0.666. So I would look at the second 6, that's where I want to round it to. Look to the number to its right, it is another 6. So that would be rounding up. So I go back to my second position, I would round that to 0.67. The other last situation we want to look at is where you have a decimal and you're trying to find the fraction equivalent. In order to do that, it's really very simple. You just put your decimal value over 100 or 1000, depending on what decimal value it comes out to. In other words, what position is the last digit to the right in the decimal? What position is that in? If you have 0.75, the 5 is in the hundredths position. So you would put 75 over 100 and then reduce if needed. In that case, you would reduce by 25. 25 will go into 75 3 times. 25 will go into 100 4 times. So 0.75 is equal to 3/4. There's the basic examples on dealing between fractions and decimals, and a couple of examples on how they are used in your daily life. I hope that this was useful to you. Our next video is going to deal with starting our new series on decimals. If you enjoyed this or got anything out of this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Thank you.